Hey everyone, welcome back to the show, the W2 Prison Break Show. This is the podcast to help you fire your boss and become the CEO of your own business in under 12 months. I'm your host, Brian O'Neill, and I'm going to start off today's podcast with a quote. And that quote is, "Why would I think about missing a shot that I haven't even taken yet?" Do you know who is famous for that quote? His name is Michael Jordan. Without question, the greatest basketball player that's ever lived. The reason I started the episode off with that quote is because so many of us, and I have gone through this as well, guys. So a lot of the stuff I talk about, hey, me too. I'm guilty of everything that I talk about on these shows. I've just found ways to manage and overcome them. The reason that I started it off with a quote is many of us just don't even give ourselves the opportunity. We self-sabotage ourselves. And we have all these symptoms of fear that I'm going to talk about in today's episode that hold us back. And at the end of the day, right, when all the smoke clears and you come to the end of your life and you didn't do the things that you wanted to do, you've got no one else to blame but you. You're the one who held you back. You're the one who decided not to. Or if you had the life that you wanted, you're the one who decided to make it happen. And you always have that power. Always. A lot of you let other people take that power away from you. You take that power away from yourself by self-sabotaging yourself. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, but I wanted to hit you with that quote because it could not possibly be more true. It's like, why are we so worried about stuff that hasn't even happened yet? You'll never know unless you get out of your comfort zone and try. I'm just going to call it what it is, this disease of holding ourselves back intentionally, right? It's all self-inflicted, self-sabotage, and it's fear-based for sure, 100%. So there's many symptoms of fear that show up when we are holding ourselves back, because what stops us is us. There's no question about it. It's not other people. We allow that to happen and we just say, oh, well, that person or that thing or my boss or what. No, it's you're allowing it to happen. You're tolerating it. You have complete control to not tolerate it, to take control of your situation. So let's talk about probably the number one symptom of holding ourselves back. And it's just plain old fear, the dreaded F word. We think something terrible is going to happen. We think that we're going to lose money. We're going to lose our reputation. We're going to lose time, whatever it is. Like we're just so afraid to get out of our comfort zone. And we hold ourselves back and we just say, well, I'm just too scared to do that. And then that shows up in other ways that I'll get into here. And a lot of you already know this and you still can't get out of your own way. So let's talk about fear, understanding the root of fear. A lot of the times it comes from past experiences, maybe your childhood. Like if you were someone who was criticized in your childhood, right, by anyone, you could have a fear of being judged. Now, as a fully grown adult, that can be a real thing for you. You have to find ways to overcome that, whether it's externalizing it, journaling, having a counselor, getting a support group. You have to address that. You have to recognize for what it is. Otherwise, it's going to paralyze you for the rest of your life. A lot of us are stuck in our comfort zones, right? Like we feel good there. I know this. I know what I'm getting. We're so afraid to step out of our comfort zone. You hear this so much. It's really a dangerous place to live. Truly, it can really lead to stagnation. And when you step out of your comfort zone, like that's where the growth happens. That's where the personal development happens. The people who are successful in life, they are constantly looking to live out of their comfort zone, like intentionally, because they know that's where the growth happens. That's where the personal development happens. That's where their lives change and they get better. I'll give you an example here. A lot of people are afraid of public speaking. I mean, this is a very, very common thing. I was afraid of it. I was afraid of getting on stages. What ended up happening was before I ever got on stage is I took small steps towards that, right? I started a podcast and that wasn't so scary because I was in my home and I was interviewing people on video. And then I eventually was interviewed on other people's podcasts. Scary, but less scary than being on a stage. And I was running a mastermind group for an hour. Scary, but not nearly as scary as being on stage. And then when it became time to get on stage, I had like a 10 or 15 minute discussion. I was with a group of people. It wasn't just one-to-one. And then I got to the point where it was just me. and I was ready for it. I had been preparing for it. So don't think you just have to like run onto the stage all by yourself and give yourself a panic attack. You can just have small, achievable, actionable steps that will get you there, that will make you feel more and more comfortable when it becomes time to do the on-stage public speaking situation. So that's another symptom, staying in our comfort zones, right? We want to recognize what these symptoms are of fear, of holding ourselves back. Like, why can't I get over myself? Why am I holding myself back? It's all these symptoms that we're talking about. We're going to run through these, and I'm going to give you some actionable steps on how to overcome them. One of the biggest ones is just the impact of social media, right? Comparing yourselves to other, like you go through your social media feed and you see all these people doing real estate, or they're writing books, or they're speaking on stages, and, or, maybe they're an artist and you're an artist or photographer or whatever. And you just see how great their work is. And you're just doing all this comparing. I'm never going to be that good. I can't do that. I'm never going to be that person. Understand, number one, that a large percentage of the stuff that you see is not real on social media. It's there to get you to do something, usually to buy something or to follow or to go somewhere. That's all it is. So just take it for what it is. I spend a lot of time on social media, but I use social media for my business. I use it to promote my business. I use it to get ideas for my shows. I don't spend a lot of time scrolling, looking at what other people do, because I have no control over what they do. I only have control over what I do. The more that you live by that and understand that and recognize that, and it becomes a daily thing for you, I have no control over what other people do. You are going to start to set yourself free from holding yourself back, because that's what you're doing. You're creating your own prison over here, right? This is the W2 Prison Break Show. Prisons show up in many different ways. It's not just your job. Like, you can create your own prison. And when you're doing these types of activities, self-sabotage, that's what you're doing. You're keeping yourself in prison, and you got to get out of this because you're the only one who can do it, right? Comparing yourself to other people is just one of the worst things that you can do. Now, it's also very natural, and people do it. You'll look at somebody, oh, hey, they got that. And the reality of it is they're doing the same thing to you, more than likely. So we have to find a way to let go of that. You're not them. They're not you. You're you. Now, we're all trying to fit in. I get it. But where they are, or where they are presenting themselves to be, I can tell you, I've been around a lot of people that are on social media, and I've had them on my show, and that's not them. So take it from somebody who's a podcast host. I'm not saying that they're frauds. I'm just saying it's much different. These are normal people. They put their pants on the same exact way as everybody else does. Okay. So be super careful of how you use social media. Don't use it as mindless scrolling to take your mind off of stuff. Because this can be poisonous. This can be very dangerous for you. Use it, participate in social media. Think about ways you can use it to promote your business or for you to network, but do not. Some of you will intentionally look at something that you're trying to do or that you're doing, and you'll look at other people, and then you'll say, well, I can't do that. I'm not good enough. Well, look at where they are. And all of you who are listening know that you do that. Don't do that anymore. Get off of social media in that way. Use it differently. Be intentional about how you use social media. That is just toxic. That is poisonous. And that is going to contribute to your self-sabotage, to holding yourself back, which we're trying to get out of that. The other symptom of fear that shows up all the time is procrastination. I did a whole episode on procrastination. Delaying the anxiety, the uncomfortableness. Hey, if I do this thing, if I take this risk, right? If I get out of my comfort zone, something bad's going to happen. And I don't want that. I don't even want to think about facing that. And that is just a story you spin. So you procrastinate, you don't do it, you put it off, and guess what? It's not going away. And then it just gets heavier and heavier and heavier and gets worse. And you end up causing more stress on you than if you would have just done the thing and not procrastinated in the first place. It would have been way less stressful. Again, I did an entire episode on this, so make sure you check that one out. But procrastination, if you find yourself constantly delaying and avoiding doing stuff that you know that you have to do, that you should do, that you want to do, that's going to move the needle forward in your life, whether it's tasks or conversations with people, then you know that you are someone who self-sabotages. You're a self-sabotager, and you're holding yourself back. And again, procrastination usually can be rooted by some deeper fears that you have. The other symptom of fear that we all have, and that's shiny object syndrome, distractions. We look for distractions, willingly look for distractions. We go out of our way to distract ourselves, to escape the reality of our lives, which is, hey, I'm scared to do this thing. That's more self-sabotage. And then we spin it with a story. Well, I need another stream of income. I need to make money right now. All it is fear. Listen to the stories that you guys tell yourselves. Like, you're so engrossed in other people's lives, scrolling on social media, looking at what other people do. Why don't you just look at what you do? Listen to yourself, pay attention to what you're doing. And you'll soon realize you're simply creating this alternative reality, these stories to protect you from doing the thing that you want to do, but you're just simply too scared to do it because you think, again, I go back to the quote, you think you're going to miss the shot, but you haven't even taken the shot yet. How do you know if you miss? And by the way, if you do miss, so what? You're going to miss. That's inevitable. You need to embrace that. He missed way more shots than he took. Way more. You're always going to miss more shots than you make. Always. But you got to take your shots. Now, I have a lot of experience in all of these symptoms. Shiny object syndrome. I mean, if there was a Guinness Book of World Records, maybe there is, I don't know. I probably would have won hands down. I was constantly distracting myself from the reality of my job that I hated and my life that I didn't like. I wasn't in a good spot. I just distracted myself with other things. Okay. Again, social media. Oh, this sounds interesting. Let's look at this stock thing let's try to trade options, right? Let's look at franchising. Let's start a blog. Let's dabble in real estate a little bit. That's all I did was dabble. That's it. And it was like a 3, 4, 5 month thing, maybe 6 months at the most. And then I quit. I gave up. I went back. Oh, that didn't work. Right. And all it was me just distracting my brain and not dealing with the reality that I was afraid to take my shot. I was afraid of what other people thought. I was afraid to mess up, to fail, to make mistakes, to lose money, to lose my time, all those things, you name it. And then I just simply would go into this vicious cycle that got me nowhere for a long period of time. I was in the same spot, shiny object syndrome, distractions. And I can't tell you how many people that I meet on a daily basis, weekly basis, all over in my travels that cannot focus. They just simply cannot focus. They just constantly look for other stuff to do, distracting themselves. And if they would just simply do the one thing and follow it all the way through and let go of everything else, they would be much farther along than they are now. And any successful person, any person who's been successful in business or in life will agree with the exact same thing. They will tell you the exact same thing. If you could just simply focus and finish one thing all the way through, finish it and actually finish something. Otherwise, you have completed 20% of 15 or 20 different things. And what good does that do? That doesn't do anything for you. One thing at a time, follow it all the way through. And then you'll become the type of person that can say to yourself, yeah, I follow through on stuff. This is why you're stuck. This is why you're self-sabotaging. This is why you won't take your shot, is because you've completed 20% of 100 different things. Think about that. Let that sink in. You have not followed through on stuff. And I want you to ask yourself why. It's self-belief. You just don't think that you're good enough. And then maybe your perception of success is different. Like your timeline is just not realistic. People don't give themselves realistic timelines. Again, social media. Oh, I got this Lamborghini and this yacht and all this money, and it took me 2 hours a day, and it happened in 3 months. It's like, you need to shut that off. Click the little button on your social media feed that says not interested in this. And so it doesn't keep showing up on your feed. That's not realistic. Being a successful business owner takes years. It takes years. Think about what you're super good at in your life right now. Did it happen overnight? Did it happen in 3 months? Did it happen in 6 months? No, it didn't. It took years for you to do it. What we're talking about, is no different. If you're looking at a new venture or you're looking at improving something, it's going to take time. And with that, you are going to have hurdles, roadblocks, obstacles, challenges, wins, losses, all of that and more. And that's totally fine. It's supposed to happen. This is how we learn as human beings. Don't sabotage yourself. Be aware of everything I just said, and understand it, embrace it. And it's okay. Who cares if you mess up? You do. That's the only person. And if you're around people that would point the finger at you and I told you so and hey, that wouldn't work, well, then those people shouldn't be in your life, in my opinion. That includes your own family if they're not going to support you, if you have something that you have a lot of conviction of. Now, I realize that that's easier said than done, but you are the one who needs to believe it. You have the conviction. Guys, shiny object syndrome happens when you're in business, when you are a business owner. I've seen it over and over. I've committed this crime where my real estate business got me to where I wanted to go, out of my job, did a bunch of deals. And then I said, okay, wow, I'm good. Let's start a podcast. Let's do this other thing. It just continues, right? And then I forgot about my real estate business and I went backwards a little bit and had to catch myself. Don't forget what got you to where you are and focus on that. And if you don't like doing it, you can systematize it, but don't ignore it, right? You can hire people to do that stuff, but don't ignore it. Business owners make this mistake all the time, not just brand new people. Another symptom or another problem associated with holding yourself back is this need for external validation. We want to be validated. If we're producing a product or a service, or if we put out a piece of content, or if I make a podcast or a YouTube video and only 500 people view it and 2 people like it, I'm supposed to feel a certain way about that. Everyone is guilty of this. Like, we're looking for that external validation. And unfortunately, you're going to get both. You're going to get people that, especially if you have a large following of any kind, I'm not just talking about social media. I'm talking about anything. If you're doing something and it's worth noticing, people are going to show up and try to knock you down. That's just the way it works. And I look at that much differently now than I used to. I actually embrace that. It's like, hey, I've got something that I'm talking about that's worthy of people taking the time to come into my room, whether I'm on a TikTok live or I put out a video on Instagram or wherever, and people are commenting and calling me names. I love that stuff. Let me repeat that. I love that stuff. It doesn't bother me. It realizes like, okay, Brian, you're onto something here. Not everyone's going to agree with you. Whether you know 10 people or you have 50,000 people, not everyone's going to agree with you. So you don't need validation. The only person who needs to validate you is you. That's it. That is it. Sometimes your family won't agree with you. Why are we looking for external validation? Why are we doing that? What is the root of that? Why do you need that? You validate you. And all of that stuff will come. If you continue and you're consistent in your message and you're talking to the right person, right? Your avatar is dialed in. This is my person. This is who I'm trying to reach. You're not going to reach the entire world. Maybe one of you might. Who knows? But that's not what we're going after. Most of us, we have a specific group of people that we're trying to reach, whether it's in our business or our messaging. And that's who we're always talking to. Don't lose sight of that. And a lot of the times it's a younger version or maybe the existing version of you. That's who you're talking to. That's what I do. A lot of the messaging that I put out, I'm talking to the younger version of Brian. And I know there's a lot of him out there, male and female. I know it. And that's who I'm always talking to. So when somebody knocks me off, it's like, no, this worked for me. This worked for me personally. I know it'll work for other people. Now, I've been around long enough. I've been doing this to where I've had that validation. People have come up to me and they've said, hey, Brian, thank you. That helped me. What you said helped me. But you know what? That would have never happened, ever, if I didn't share my personal experiences. I didn't share my stories. If I didn't get out of my own way, if I didn't stop procrastinating and went out and actually shared my experiences and my story. And I didn't do it for that reason. It just happened naturally. And it was a great thing. And then I said, okay, I need to continue to do more of this. And sometimes it takes a while to find that, right? This took years to find this, to find my voice and to find the people that needed my help. You don't have to have it figured out overnight. You're not going to. So you have to let go of external validation. You just have to. Do we want it? Yes, we all do. I want it. I want people to notice me. I want people to validate me and tell me that I'm great. But a lot of the times it doesn't happen. And I don't need it to happen. I have shifted my mindset to, look, I believe in this. I know that my messaging matters, and I'm just going to keep doing it. And I'm not going to stop, and no one's going to knock me off my viewpoint. That's just a mentality. That's a mindset. That took a while to get there. So we're always working on it. If you're feeling a certain way now, I promise you, with work and effort and getting around the right people, support group, and taking some of these tactics to heart, you can change. You will change. It'll happen slowly. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, I don't do that anymore. I don't sabotage myself. I finish through. I'm the type of person who finishes a project all the way through. I don't complete 20% of it and then move on to something else. Okay, guys, look, I could talk about this all day, and I can assure you of one thing. I will do another podcast on this. I'm coming at you 5 days per week, but I'm going to just leave you with some final thoughts here on this. The majority of you listening who are not where you want to be, and this is the coach in me, and I know none of you will take this personally. It's because of you. It's not because of anybody else. It's because of you. The reason I wasn't where I wanted to be was because of me. And I pointed all 10 fingers at everybody else but me. I did that for a long time. And you know what? It didn't do anything. It didn't get me anywhere. It just got me more of what I was already getting, which was anger and resentment and blaming everybody else. So I switched that narrative. And now I can't tell you how freeing that is. I don't have to rely on anybody else. It always comes back to me. And when you do that, when you free yourself from that victimhood, and you know that it's just you, then that's all you have to focus on. It's like, okay, I just need to get better. Here's where I want to grow. Here's what I want to improve. I don't want to suffer from shiny object syndrome anymore. How do you do that? How do I work on my focus? Right? Maybe you're hiring a coach. Maybe you're getting around a support group. Maybe you're looking at my mastermind, W2 Prison Break Nation. Maybe you're reading books and listening to podcasts about it, or you're journaling about it. You're putting steps in place to be able to overcome that. You take a break from social media. You're not looking at that stuff. Think about all the stuff that you do to sabotage yourself. Go back to the quote at the beginning. Why would I worry about missing a shot that I haven't even taken yet? I'd love for you all to get to that point. And it's not easy. It's not something that you're just going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be fixed. This takes work. Once you recognize that you are the problem, then you are the solution. And that is so powerful and so freeing. Most of us don't have the ability at this point to even admit that I'm the problem, that it's me. Many of you do, but that kind of stops there, right? And you just really don't know how to fix it. And I just leave you with, there's a 15-minute call that you guys all get as a listener, as a loyal listener. Take advantage of it. Bring one thing to me that you think is stopping you, and I'll help you with it. You don't want to wake up 20 years from now and be in the same exact spot. Because I was in my job for 17 years and a good 10, 15 years went by and I was in the same exact spot. I was making the same amount of money. I was feeling the same way. I wasn't feeling any better. And I committed all of these crimes, if you will, all these symptoms, procrastination, fear, all the symptoms of fear, of shiny object syndrome, right? And seeking external validation and spending buckets of time on social media. Oh, I could never do that. I'm not good enough. And then once I got over myself and I got around people that were in the same room and they were doing all the stuff that I was trying to do, I started laughing to myself. I'm like, these people are the same as me. And the sky was the limit. But it was hard for me to get in that room. It was very hard. And you guys hear me talk all the time and getting around different people. This can move mountains if you get around the right group, investing in yourself, investing in your personal and self-development. That needs to happen first. If you're going to be great at business, if you're going to be successful at business, you have to work on you first and foremost, above anything else, before the business. Otherwise, the business is going to be a reflection of you. If you have work to do on you first, get that done. The reason that I was successful in business in a short amount of time is that I was doing the work before I stepped into that room. I had already been doing it for a while. Okay. I had been seeing my counselor. I had been doing self-development and personal development work and meditation and journaling and working on my goals. Right. But so when I stepped into that mastermind room, I was ahead of other people that were in there that weren't doing stuff. I was ready to roll. I was very intentional about everything that I was doing. And I received all of the information and all of the coaching and all of the mentoring. And I did it. That was it. That was the formula for my success, both personally and financially, is that I recognized that it was me It was 100% me. I was blocking myself, not anybody else. And that I was the one responsible to fix it. And that was one of the more freeing moments of my entire life. And I went out and I found people to help me. And people can be coaches, mentors, books, podcasts, mastermind groups, to go out and help me get better in all of those areas that I want to improve. And I'm still working on this. Okay. This is 7 to 10 years ago, guys, that I started doing this, and I'm still working on it. It doesn't end, but you have to get to the point where you are no longer blocking yourself, preventing you from living your best life. The one that you do dream about, because we all dream about, hey, I love for my life to be like this. I'd love to have this type of a relationship, this type of business. I'd love to travel, whatever it is that you want. And then it doesn't happen. And the reason it doesn't happen is because of you. And you are the solution. And that's just a beautiful thing. So I'm going to leave you with that. You are the solution. And I always say this, I believe in you. If you think nobody believes in you, I'm validating you right now. Brian O'Neill believes in you. I've been where you've been. I've been where you are. You can get to where I am. You can get to where other people are, above me, however you want to call it. You just have to, number one, acknowledge and accept the fact that you're blocking yourself. Stop doing it. Sometimes it's easy as that. Just quit doing it. Quit worrying about what everybody else thinks of you. Quit worrying about it. You do that, then you are going to have an unhappy life if you're worrying about what everybody else thinks. I appreciate you tuning in as always. I hope this serves you. Book that 15-minute call. Send me an email. You guys know where to find me. I'm all over the place and I love the feedback. I just want to see you succeed personally, financially, your relationships. I want that for you, and you can all have it. Make it a great day.